I achieved a 54% return on investment in just 3 years thanks to an off-plan project in Dubai. I know 18% per year sounds unbelievable, but it's true. In this video, I'll reveal which developer helped me achieve this impressive capital gain, in which neighborhood, and of course, on which project. I'll also explain how choosing the right unit was key to reaching this result. And of course, as always, I'll share all the numbers with complete transparency, proof in hand. We'll look at how much I bought it for, how much my apartment is worth today, and what my rental yield is. And of course, we'll also see together if it's still possible to achieve this kind of deal in Dubai today. And if so, I'll tell you everything about how you too can take advantage of this booming market. Make sure to watch until the end of this video because I'll explain how I managed to earn so much by tying up little capital and taking minimal risks, and what strategies were put in place to optimize my investment. And above all, I'll tell you which neighborhood I believe it's still possible to achieve such capital gains today. I'm Agathe. I've been living in Dubai since 2013, and I've personally been investing for over 10 years in off-plan buy and sell projects. On this channel, I share my best advice to succeed in this market and avoid the pitfalls. By the way, if you're interested in off-plan real estate investment in Dubai and, like me as an investor, you're tired of talking to dream sellers who present you with numbers pulled out of thin air and you want access to real information about this market, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss anything. This kind of performance doesn't happen by chance, of course. It's the result of an investment strategy that combines choosing a reputable developer, a rapidly growing neighborhood, and a very specific type of apartment. The developer behind this project, unsurprisingly, is Emaar. So, Emaar, let me tell you about them quickly. Of course, I'll make a full video about them to give you all the details, but in short, Emaar is Dubai's flagship developer. It's a semi-governmental group that has been shaping the face of the city for nearly 30 years. To give you concrete examples of their achievements, Emaar is behind downtown, the Dubai Mall, Burj Khalifa, the Dubai Marina District, Dubai Hills, and of course, Dubai Creek Harbour. Basically, if we're talking about major projects that have transformed Dubai into the modern metropolis it is today, we're inevitably talking about Emaar. Given that it's truly Dubai's flagship developer, you might think that when you invest in a project with them, you often face high prices, limited risk, and consequently, profits that are also somewhat limited, because that's usually how it goes. But for this particular project, which I personally invested in, it was kind of the perfect counterexample. At the time, there was nothing there. It was just a vacant lot in a somewhat random area of Dubai, not by the sea or anything. But I believed in the project, I believed in Emaar's vision, and I absolutely don't regret it. By the way, make sure to stay until the end. I'll reveal Emaar's project that today has the same characteristics as this one did back then, and where we can expect and hope to achieve the same level of performance. In 3 years, my investment yielded a 54% return, which is about 18% per year. Not bad at all, especially when you consider the very limited risk involved in the operation. And in fact, what made this project so strong and allowed me to achieve such a great result was really the combination of two factors. Emaar, a highly reliable developer, and a location with great potential, because I invested when the neighborhood was still just a desert. To be specific, if I had bought the same apartment in downtown, for example, I would have paid much more and would never have reached this level of return. So you're probably wondering, what is this neighborhood she invested in? This famous neighborhood, as you may have guessed, is Dubai Creek Harbour. By the way, the neighborhood will be the subject of a dedicated vlog in the coming weeks because there's nothing better than a video tour to really get a feel for the atmosphere. Dubai Creek Harbour is a super premium neighborhood that is becoming one of the most attractive places in Dubai. But what you need to understand is that when I bought my apartment, it actually looked like this. Yeah, well, you really had to be able to picture it. This is a neighborhood located along a nature reserve, just 10 minutes from downtown, offering stunning views of the water and downtown with the Burj Khalifa. What makes this neighborhood unique is the combination of ultra-modern architecture with a natural waterfront setting. Today, you'll find residences, luxury hotels, a marina, green spaces, promenades, and plenty of new restaurants and shops that are opening regularly. And in the future, there will also be a huge mall, business centers, and several metro stations. The final project will be more than twice the size of downtown. For those looking to invest, Dubai Creek Harbour still has great potential for capital appreciation, even now, more than 7 years after the first launches in this neighborhood. By the way, if you regret not having invested 5 or 10 years ago and feel like you missed the boat, make sure to stay until the end of the video. We'll look together at whether it's still possible to make this kind of bet, and if so, on which project. Now that we've gone over the reasons why I decided to invest in this particular project, I'm going to explain how I selected my unit and why this choice can really make all the difference when it comes time to resell. People often talk about the importance of a property's location, but the choice of the unit itself is just as strategic. Depending on the orientation, the floor, the view, or even the layout of the rooms, some apartments gain more value than others over time. So in the rest of the video, I'll detail the criteria that guided me in choosing the perfect unit to maximize added value and ensure better profitability when it comes time to resell. When you invest off-plan, you have the advantage of being able to choose from the entire inventory of a building, which allows you to select precisely the unit that matches your objectives. If your goal is pure rental yield, you'll often aim for the cheapest unit. On the other hand, if you plan to live there, you'll choose based on your preferences, the view, the size, the layout, and so on. But for a buy and sell strategy, you need to find a balance by taking all these criteria into account, because you never know if you'll be reselling to an investor or to someone who will live there. First, avoid the lower floors as they are generally less valued. There's also no need to aim too high because the units at the top of the tower are often the most expensive and their resale can be complicated. The best choice is often a unit on a middle floor with a nice view, as this adds value without overpaying. Finally, to maximize the potential for capital gain, it's often wise to choose a unit of good size because when you're betting on a strategy that relies on an increase in price per square meter, the profit will be higher on a more spacious unit. So following this strategy, I chose a one-bedroom unit of over 80 square meters. It's the most spacious one-bedroom type in the tower. On the 18th, fourth floor out of a total of 30 floors, and it overlooks the community's central park. It turned out to be a winning bet because today, my apartment ranks among the top 20% of the most expensive one-bedroom units in the tower, thanks to the combination of these three criteria: the view, the floor, and the size. Before we get to the numbers, consider subscribing if you enjoy this kind of content. It motivates me to make more videos for you. Now that I've explained the strategy to you in detail, let's move on to the numbers, which is what you've all been waiting for. I bought this apartment for 289,000 euros. With the acquisition fees, the total cost came to 300,000 euros. What's interesting is that I used a post-handover payment plan, which allowed me to keep paying for the apartment for 2 years after receiving the keys. At the time of delivery, I had only paid 185,000 euros, while the apartment had already increased in value and was worth 400,000, which is a 54% gain in 3 years, the time it took for construction. At that point, since I didn't need any cash, I decided to keep it, and it was the right decision. Today, 2 years later, it's worth another 50,000 euros more. That is 450,000 euros. On top of that, I was able to rent it out for about 45,000 euros net after deducting co-ownership fees in total over the 2 years following the delivery. In short, between the rent collected and the unrealized capital gain, I am now at 195,000 euros in profit over 5 years for a total investment of 300,000 euros, which is 65% in 5 years. If I allow myself to share these numbers with you, it's because I actually received a written offer for 450,000 euros and I turned it down. The longer I keep this apartment, the more my annual return will naturally decrease because most of the profit was made at the time of delivery thanks to the payment plan and the significant capital gain achieved. But today I'm taking a long-term approach. I want to keep this apartment because I truly believe in the potential of this neighborhood. I'm convinced that its value will continue to increase in the coming years. So for me, this investment remains an excellent opportunity for the future. And you, what would you do in my place? Would you keep it for several more years or sell to look for capital gains elsewhere? Let me know in the comments which of these strategies you're using right now. It's always a pleasure to exchange ideas with other investors. Of course, you're probably wondering if similar opportunities are still available. Investing with a reputable developer to minimize risks while targeting an emerging neighborhood with strong potential for capital gains. The answer is yes. Dubai is a city that's constantly evolving and projects like this still exist. One of the most promising right now is Mina Rashid, developed by Emaar. It's a waterfront project that is transforming the historic Port Rashid into a luxurious community with high-end residences, a marina, restaurants and shops. Since the neighborhood is not developed at all yet, it offers very attractive prices and enormous growth potential. Here you have the reliability of a renowned developer like Emaar, combined with the opportunity to invest early in an area that is still underdeveloped, and moreover, it's by the sea. That's very, very rare. On top of that, Emaar has the resources to develop the roads around the project to connect it more quickly to downtown, and the work has already started. So, on paper, we really have all the characteristics needed to achieve a great capital gain. Of course, only time will tell. Now, all that's left is for you to choose the right unit. By the way, if you would like personalized advice or want to learn more about how to invest in off-plan real estate in Dubai, feel free to contact me directly via the link in the description. See you soon in the next video.